Now we're talking peaches. Peaches is one of the fruit that if you have a tree, you are very lucky because it produces enough peaches to can many, many jars of canned peaches. If you don't have a tree, find a friend who does because there are many uses for canned peaches. For canning peaches, the one I like is what we're going to demonstrate here. It is suggested sometimes to put the peach in a solution to prevent darkening of the peach. I personally have not found that to be necessary on peaches because it is quite a quick process and the color does not change that much. Many times you'll purchase or even pick the peach off the tree and it'll be a little bit hard, a little bit firm, not quite ripe enough for canning. An easy way to get it ripe is just to set it on a towel on your cupboard or in a pantry somewhere. Do not leave it in a plastic bag, but just set it out, let it ripen, just touch it occasionally to see if it's softening up. Then you will be able to remove the skins much easier. So first what you need to do is, this is boiling water. You need to put the peach in boiling water for about 60 seconds. After the peach has been in the boiling water for a minute, and it can go a little bit longer because you're going to want to have numerous peaches in there, and as you're doing this next step, the other ones will remain in the water, which is not a problem. So remove the peach from the hot water and instantly put it in a bowl of ice water. Sometimes you're going to have a struggle in removing the skin, which it happens. So a lot of times you're going to say, wow, that came off easy. Other times you're like, well, how come this one isn't? I don't know the answer. Sometimes the skin comes off quickly. Sometimes this one, I'd have to say, is probably a little more difficult than normal. But just stick with it. It won't take but a minute to remove the skin, and you'll just peel it off. Sometimes you'll find that if you put it back in the hot water, if you are just really having a struggle, you can put it back in the hot water. After you have the skin removed from your peach, this is when you want to cut it in half and remove the pit. And again, sometimes this is going to be a really simple process. It's just going to pop out of there, and other times you're going to struggle with it. So just know that it's probably not something you're doing wrong. It just happens on the kind of fruit. And there is also a personal preference. This red middle here, it softens as you can your peaches, so it's not necessary to remove that. My husband Ross, doesn't bother him at all. Sometimes I feel like, oh, I want to pick it out because it might make a prettier presentation. But you just cut it apart, remove your pit, and you have it done. Now it's time to pack your jar. I have had peaches in the past where they are in all odd sizes, all shapes and everything. They will still taste the same. So don't get discouraged if you think presentation is everything. It's not. Here is a peach that the middle has been cut out of, and here's one with the reds to illustrate cutting out a little bit of the center. What you do now is it's easier to do a wide mouth jar. Remember, wide mouth is bigger than the smaller ones. And you place your peaches face down. And I've had a friend say it's really easy if you have your children do this part of it and be your little helper, because their hand fits in much better than an adult. But you just pack your peaches facing them on top of each other, placing the centers down. I don't know, what would you call it, like a honeycomb layering of some sort. And kind of don't squish them, but just kind of push it to where there's no air gaps, leaving just a ½ head space, which I would probably just take it up. I don't think I'll be able to fit another one in there. So just take it up to the bottom of the jar. Let's see let me cut one, fit it around here on the top and see what that does. That seems to work. Once you have the peaches packed in your jar, now you need to fill the jar with a hot syrup. There are different kinds of syrup. You can do extra light, medium, and heavy, depending on how much sugar versus water. Today we're doing a light syrup, which is 2 1/4 cup sugar to 5 1/4 cup water. Once you have brought your syrup to a boil, you want to ladle the hot syrup into your jar. And the easiest way is to use a wide mouth funnel and just slowly ladle the syrup so that it can go around your peaches. When it gets almost full, you stop and let it settle. After it has settled, take a knife and slide it down the side of your jars, I'm sorry, the side of the peaches, to let any air out. And the juice did go down a little, so I'm going to put just a smidge more of syrup around that. Once you have the syrup on the in your jar, you clean the top of the jar with a moist paper towel so that you can put on your flat and ring and give it a good tight snug. We've talked about pressure canning, which is what we have done with turkey and roast, where you have a locking lid and pressure builds. This is a little different. Peaches ask you to water bath can them. Water bath canning simply means you boil water over your jar for a set amount of time. You can use a stock pot or you can use a hot water bath pot. The only guideline is it has to be tall enough so that the level of water is above the top of the jar. To process peaches in a hot water bath, you needed to bring it to a boil, and that is when you begin your timing. You put your peaches in, the water level will be just above your lid. For a quart, you boil it for 30 minutes. So after it comes to a boil, you start your time for 30 minutes, and then your jar will be sealed. Okay, our peaches have now boiled for 30 minutes, and we're going to remove them using your jar tongs. Remove them from the water, and it is very hot. The contents in there are still boiling. As this cools down, you will hear a popping noise, and that is a sign that your jar has sealed. If it does not seal, the contents you still can eat. You just want to put them in the refrigerator and eat them within a day or two. But this is perfect. Canned peaches, you can use it for many, many things. Dump cake is a very common recipe in our household, where you just dump in cake mix and your peaches and a little bit of butter and put it in the oven, and it's fabulous, fabulous dessert. Add this to some ice cream. There are many uses for canned peaches, so I hope you enjoy.